Howdy, y'all, and welcome to another episode. If this is your first time listening, welcome. It's good to have you here, and welcome to the family. I wish we had a welcome song like "You are welcome in the name." You could anyway. Welcome. If this is not your first time listening, you're an OG. Even if you've listened twice, you're still an OG. Welcome back. My name is Maliseh Chinonye, and if you'd spare me realistically half an hour, I promise it will be worth your while. We're going to be having a riveting conversation, and it's a place where faith intersects with culture and society. And I like to offer my perspective and my opinions on certain things with this podcast, and I've been doing so for a little bit now. And yeah, so if you spare me a bit of your time, you could be, commuting to work, doing the laundry, doing the dishes, whatever it is. Thank you for tuning in. And yeah, let's get right into it. Today, I want to talk about exhaustion. I want to talk about exhaustion. And I have themed it running on empty. I don't know if you've heard the song Freedom, but Justin Bieber and Beam. Running on empty, feeling the fire. Anyway, that's kind of how I got the theme or the title idea. Anyway, we're going to talk about what kind of exhaustion, because I want to talk about exhaustion across all fronts, more or less. I think I've mentioned something about spiritual lethargy before, so that is definitely going to be in conversation. I have an outline here that I'm going to try to follow religiously so that I keep it to, about half an hour, and I don't just drift away. All right. About a couple things here, and yeah, we'll get right into it. All right. So today's episode is titled Running on Empty. If you're tired, and I don't mean sleepy, if you're listening to this in the night, maybe you should put it down and wake up in the morning and listen. Whatever it is, I don't dictate your life for you. So thank you, Sha, for listening. If you're tired, not sleepy, but like so tired, this is for you. If you're not tired, so tired, whatever it is, this is still for you. It could be useful. I say this that some of the episodes I record are also for me. Sometimes I record an episode and I'm going through a season of my life that I need to listen to something like that. And I think, oh yeah, I have something I recorded. And sometimes I'm astonished or astounded by some of the things I say. Sometimes I can predict the words I say because I'm the one who recorded it. I know some of the vocabulary or the words that I'll use when I'm trying to. Anyway, I'm just going off. Anyway, so yeah, the reason why this is important to me is because we live in a world that doesn't know how to slow down. The hustle culture is especially great now because there is an influx of a very young generation that wants to get rich, that wants to get wealthy, because the older ones have somehow managed to squander wealth. It's either they set us up for failure or they set us up for success. There happens to be no in between at this point. There isn't the middle class anymore. You're either the top or the bottom. That's it. That's it. So let us talk about exhaustion. Not the kind that coffee can cure or the kind that sleep can solve. We want to talk about exhaustion. And I'm just going to read a couple lines to you guys, and then, we kind of talk about it. Exhaustion isn't just about being tired. It's not just about the bags under your eyes or the yawn during a Zoom call. If we had video, you'll probably see that I think I was born with natural eye bags. So it's a very big problem for me when I'm actually tired, when I'm actually exhausted, because they get inflated the more. and then it looks like I'm carrying a military sack under my eyes. It's crazy sometimes, you know. What truly is exhaustion? Exhaustion is a depletion of your inner resources, emotional, spiritual, physical, even creative. And I think I have an episode on burnout. So if you want to listen, you can go listen to it. This is a mature version. No, mature. When I say mature, I don't mean explicit. I mean, I'm more mature now than when I did it a couple years ago. I think it was like maybe 1 or 2 years ago. I don't know. I can't remember. I probably will check it out. It's when you keep going, but you're not really present. When your body shows up, but your soul calls in sick. Think about it like this. Some of the time when you're somewhere and you're having this sort of out of body experience, do you wonder if that could be exhaustion? It's not just about being tired, because the body has some way you can condition your body to be somehow resistant to where I don't resistant might not be the word, but I'm going to use it for a lack of a better word. You can condition your body to somehow be resistant to some kind of tiredness. You sleep for 3-4 hours, you're up, hustling, grinding, and everything. I once heard someone say that one day your body will leave you. Your body will say, "I'm not doing again." You'll be going in front, and your body. It just makes sense, because sometimes it can be an out of body experience. You're somewhere mentally, but physically you're gone. You're gone. You're not present. You're just walking through life. And that's why many times, and I think that hustle culture especially started, after the wake of the pandemic, because everybody was like, yo, we weren't prepared for something like that. We have to 10x what we're doing so that we are 10 times or 10 steps ahead of the next thing, so that we are not caught with our pants down. And so everybody's moving. And if you think about it, from 2020 up until this time, it has been a very freaky blur. Some people can remember because they actually take accounts, they take pictures, make videos. Some people can't remember until they see those videos, like, what? I actually did that? I think it's particularly important to make memories, to actually kind of pause and make memories. That's a conversation for another day. Psychologists call it burnout. Spiritual leaders, pastors call it lethargy, dryness. Poets call it slow death. Whatever the name is, it still feels the same. Empty. This brings us to chapter 2. Hidden faces of burnout. Exhaustion wears different masks. The first mask is the physical burnout, when your body says, I can't keep doing this. There's a mental burnout, when small decisions feel like moving mountains. Your day-to-day chores, some people, even without exhaustion, some people struggle with laundry. I could be some people. Laundry is, it's work. Not gonna lie. But something as simple as that, or let's say doing the dishes, brushing your teeth, that might be extreme. But getting out of bed, moving, making yourself breakfast, it just feels so crazy. It feels like you're preparing you're preparing for a 6-month project. That's kind of how mental burnout looks like. There's emotional burnout, where you feel numb, irritable, and cry randomly. The cry randomly parts, maybe guys don't do it because they want to be all manly and everything. But that feeling of numbness and being irritable is particular. I think about, for someone who lives in Lagos and who commutes in Lagos, think about the crazy drivers you see in Lagos. For some reason, all of them are just loud, angry, cursing at each other, swearing, your daddy, your mommy, your brother, your sister, everybody, people will think that everybody in Lagos is going out with some form of insanity. And I think it's exhaustion because Lagos is very fast paced. If you take a second to pause in Lagos, by the time you unpause, you're probably naked, standing at a roundabout. Everything is just gone. Lagos is really, really a crazy place. And then there's the spiritual exhaustion where God feels silent, prayers feel pointless, and your faith feels like work. This one, this, I feel like is the culmination of everything. Physical, mental, emotional, all of them aggregate and compile to spiritual exhaustion. And I think it has been like that for me. And I don't want to share a lot, but I want to share some. And I'm afraid that this might be TMI, but anyway, there's a point where prayer starts to feel performative. Sure, there some pastors have preached that sometimes you need to pray till your feelings catch up with it. What if your feelings never catch up? Could that be the sign of something deeper? You need to pause. You need to be solemn. You don't need to do the regular gymnastic and theatrics and the calisthenics of prayers. You actually need to find time to be quiet and be solemn in worship. What if that is the solution? But we could get caught up in the dynamics of life. We can get caught up in all of the hoity-toity and flips and somersaults and everything, and all that could aggregate and cause spiritual exhaustion. But here's the thing, most of us are carrying more than one type. Like I said, physical, mental, emotional can all aggregate and cause spiritual exhaustion. Some people have all four: physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, zero. And some of them have the widest smile on their faces. It's one of the reasons you oh my goodness, you hear tales of some disasters that happened, and like, I can't believe it. When I saw her or when I met them, they were smiling, they were so happy. Their last post on Instagram, on their Instagram stories, they were so happy, joyous, playing with their dog. Ayo, what happened? There is so much that they're tired of. There's so much exhaustion. But the mask over it is smiles and everything. This brings me to chapter 3. Why we stay tired. And the question I have is, why are we all so exhausted? Because me, if I don't tire. It could be cultural. Hustle culture rewards the grind, not the pot. Don't even get me started on. See, listen. Don't get me wrong. I'm not even someone to really dunk on hustle culture, because I'm not even the kind of, I'm not that bro. No, not me. Not me. I'm not advocating for comfortability or negligence of responsibility or negligence of duty or not taking action. I will never advocate for that, because if we don't take action, the results that we desire will never come. But feeling like you have to sleep 4 hours, you sleep from 12 a.m. to 4 a.m., work 20-hour days, 100-hour weeks, maybe 140-hour weeks. Not only will you be emotionally, physically, your health will also be depleted. Part of it is also economic. Rest feels like a luxury some can't afford, and that is bad. God models something brilliant for us, that okay, fine, you want to work 6 days a week. There's Monday to Saturday, you're working all through. The Bible says that After God created for 6 days, he rested on the seventh. And some people think that rest is a lux. Rest is, bro, if you don't rest, you have to use money to pay for that rest. The money you are hustling for, or the wealth and everything you're hustling for, you have to use that money to pay for rest. And it might be very expensive, more expensive than you think. Part of it is fear. If I stop, everything will fall apart. I think this also comes down to the last point, which is ego. If I don't do it, no one will. It's an obsession with control. We always want to be in control. I read a book earlier this year, and the author was basically saying that you have to be in control of your situation, your circumstances. Things cannot happen to you, and you say that it's something you had no control over. You have to be in control. Listen, I understand. You have to be in control of your own life. Nobody is going to run your life. Nobody is going to run my life for me. Nobody is going to dictate the terms of my life for me. But that becomes a problem, or it becomes a problem when you are constantly obsessing over every single detail. I get that when you're planning for a project management principles um advise that you have a plan for risks. There is in cybersecurity, and I think it also applies to project management. There's risk aversion, risk mitigation, risk avoidance. Sorry, risk acceptance, avoidance, which is also aversion, transfer, and mitigation. There are all those things, and you kind of prepare. You have contingencies in case those things don't work. What if plan A to Z doesn't work? So it you can't control everything. You can be in control of your life, don't get me wrong, but you can't control every single thing. There are things that will always be out of your control, and some people don't realize it. Some people don't want to believe it, even if they know that it's true. They don't want to believe it. The guy was basically saying, if you say, oh, my car broke down, you should have asked yourself, what would stop me from getting to work early? Or should I fix my car? I get these things, but there are some things that you will never be able to control. And the sooner we make our peace with that, the better it is for us. So that when the things that are seemingly out of our control smack us in the face, we can it's not like it's unknown. You kind of prepare for any problem that comes. So when it happens, even though it's out of your control in a way, you're not you know you're not just stranded or helpless. But what's the deeper reason? I think sometimes we tie our worth to our productivity. We confuse being busy with being valuable. We wear exhaustion like a badge of honor until it becomes a weight we can't carry. I think that's it says it's pretty explanatory. No? I think it is. The fourth one is faith and fatigue. We talked about spiritual exhaustion. I think it's time we dive into an aspect of it. Let's talk about church for a second. Because for people of faith, exhaustion hits different. We've spiritualized sacrifice. I say sacrificed. Quotes like burnout for God. Um Leave it all on the altar. Now these quotes have their context. When you say you are burnt out for God, it's not talking about a or sold out to God. It's not talking about a depletion. It's talking about sufficiency, finding your sufficiency in Christ. And sufficiency is not material, it's largely immaterial. If God decides that there's also material sufficiency, fantastic, but it's largely immaterial. All right. So when you are there should be a context. leaving it all on the altar has its context. It's coming to God bearing all, coming. They say naked. The famous quote is, naked we came, naked we will go back. So you come to God open, naked in essence, not physically, not nude, but nudity of the heart, nudity of your desires, nudity of your will and your intentions. That is what living it. That's the context, not all other things. Not the theatrics and the gymnastics. Not in the no, because even Jesus withdrew to rest. You see times where Jesus finished praying, doing miracles and everything, while everybody was still caught up in the signs and wonders. Jesus withdrew. He stayed away from. He went to the mountain to pray. You might say that he was also working that prayer. He was still. Sometimes prayer doesn't look like the theatrics and the somersaults that we know or we think that it is. Sometimes it's solitude. It's solemn solitude. It's just quiet reverence for the presence of God. You just acknowledge the presence of God that is heavy in that place, and you just bask in it, bask in His glory. Even God, after creating the world, rested on the seventh day. Sabbath wasn't a suggestion. Keep the Sabbath day holy. It was a commandment, not just for the body, but for the soul. Yet, many of us serve until we are empty and call it obedience. You can't give. I don't know if you've probably heard this quote. You can't give from an empty cup. You want to do that. See, we came into this world empty, somewhat, and we are going to leave this world empty. And empty in the context that we didn't come with any baggage, we didn't come with any particular as talents. Like, there weren't particular skills that we just were born and we just knew how to do. We had to learn things, for the propagation of the gospel, and we have to absolutely exhaust our gifts still for the same propagation of the gospel. That doesn't take away from this fact. God doesn't need your burnout. He desires your being, not your doing. So God is not fascinated by gymnastics, or that's why in the book of James, where it says, be ye hearers of doers of the word, be ye doers of the word, no hearers alone. When I say this now, it's like, bro, this is contradictory. There are people who hear the word, and they are only obsessed with the gymnastics of it, what the word can do for them, what the word can be used to do. He says, what's the name? James says something that it's like looking at the mirror and walking away and forgetting what your reflection looks like. There is a being when it comes to that doing part, the being doers of the word. There's a being. Doing or being doers of the word isn't just applying it. Applications, seven applications of Matthew 7 verse 7. It's not just that. It's about a becoming, a transformation, that the word births transformation, births renewal in you. Alright? So God desires your being, not just your doing, not gymnastics, not your applications and your dissections, and didactic teaching of the word and didactic study are beautiful. But if all those things are just to settle a score, or to pick a fight, or pick a bone of contention with people, or to add it to your arsenal of athletics and gymnastics, that's not what God is interested in. How do these things transform you to be a better person? That's what, to be not just a better person, but being a faithful steward of the gifts He has given. The 5th chapter now is the art of true rest, and I'm just going to read, and I want you to just pay attention to these words. So what does rest look like? It's not just sleep. It's silence, solitude. It's being instead of doing. Rest is learning to say no without guilt. We I don't know if this is for everyone, but I grew up, you know, refraining from saying no because saying no meant, hurting people. You do things that, oh, I did things. I don't want to even say you do things. I did things against my best interest. And I get that. I wanted to, we have to be sacrificial with our love, and love requires that we sometimes put people's needs ahead. The word, it says, pay attention to the word, and you might call me semantic, whatever it is. Ahead, not above. Ahead of our needs means that our needs are still there, but we want to seemingly prioritize, not above. Above connotes some form of inferiority to our needs, that our needs don't matter. And that's not what it is. So rest is learning to say no without guilt. It's stepping away so you don't fall apart. It's letting people down so you don't let yourself break. Sometimes rest looks like therapy. It looks like unfollowing the account that is giving you constant headache because you are so caught up in a game of comparison. Sometimes the rest you need is unfollowing them. Sometimes rest looks like prayer in the dark, where all you say is, Lord, being bami, is I'm hungry. You say, Lord, otisumi, Lord, ike guru. I'm tired. I don't know the Hausa equivalent. But you see, God, I'm tired. And if you are listening to this and you're running on empty, I want you to know that it's okay to pause. You don't have to earn your rest. Rest doesn't have to be something that you earn per se. You don't need permission to you body. When they talk body no be firewood, people use it usually in a sexual context. But this time I'm telling you in a restual context. Body no be fire. You're not a machine. You're a miracle, and miracles deserve care. Take a moment this week. Maybe today. What am I even saying? Maybe today. Today. Take a moment this week. Today. Turn off the notifications. Lie on the floor. Sometimes you just need to connect with the cold floor. Cry if you need to, Except if you are a macho man, you say you don't cry, which is silly. But sometimes you need to cry. If you think that you're just crying for no reason, go and cry to God. Play worship music, be sold out in worship, and cry your heart out to God. Breathe. And I want you to take this into heart. Your productivity is not tied to your worth. You're still worthy, even when you're still. That was nice, Abby. That was nice. Anyway, thank you for listening to this episode. If this is something that resonated with you, share it with people. Share with someone else who's tired. Let us imbibe a culture of stillness, a culture of rest, not just hustle, grind. And I want you to share with me, when was the last time you truly rested? You can share in the comments. You could send us whatever it is. If this resonated with you, you can send us a message. There are mediums for you to send us messages. Use all the links below as you see fit. Till next time, I am your host, Maliseh Chinonye. Stay blessed. Flip the switch and illuminate. God bless you. Peace.